Hello everybody and welcome back to RogueTech, where I want to have a quick think here. In light of what the RogueTech modders have done with vehicles, what do I believe is the next likely course of action that they will take? In my opinion, and I'm probably going to be wrong about this, in my opinion, if there is a way to do it, they will probably make it so that repairing armor, or just repairing vehicles in general, will end up requiring time, is my current thinking. And if that is the case, then what I've been talking about last episode, with having vehicles being the frontline units, that would become essentially non-viable, because the vehicles would then have the situation where they had no measurable advantage over having mechs in those roles, other than perhaps heat management. But if your mech is properly designed, heat management isn't an issue, or it's a workable one. So with that being the only advantage in this scenario, this is a hypothetical scenario wherein the developers make hypothetical changes that I have no idea if it's even in the pipeline. If that does end up happening, then that would relegate vehicles to either non-existence, and we would rather put the tonnage into mechs, or it would relegate them into exclusively a long-range fire support role. Every other type of vehicle, every other combat role for vehicles would, in my opinion, in that case, be non-viable. Mechs would just be better at it. So the question then becomes, of course, do we prefer having the additional movements per turn, as in like weapon firings and things like that having the 4 vehicle slots gives us? Or would we rather just throw all of that tonnage into mechs and essentially have fewer movements per turn, but overall more impactful movements? That is the question I'm now grappling with. In terms of the current vehicle situation, I have to assume this is temporary. I don't think that they are planning to leave vehicles in this current state, and as such, I don't think that it is a good idea to put too many resources or too much time into considering our options for vehicles. So, all that said, what does that mean for right now? For right now, what that means is I think I'm going to move entirely away from vehicles and move into just putting that tonnage into mechs and see how that feels. It's not going to feel as good. I can tell you that right now. I really liked the scouting vehicle feel. But as it is right now, I mean, flying vehicles do have some advantage. There's no doubt about that. I feel like hovercraft are sufficiently lightly armored that they're not particularly useful, so I feel like for vehicles to be viable in this current vehicle meta, I think they have to be either wheeled or flyers. If they are flyers, well, there are some distinct downsides there with LOS and visibility. If they are wheeled, there's some mobility downsides. So overall, I'm kind of leaning towards moving into heavier and heavier mechs right now. That said, I do believe that once Season 2 of Treadnought hits, or even throughout Season 1.5, which we are currently in, as the season progresses, I do expect there to be some relatively substantial changes to be made to vehicles, because if they leave vehicles in the state that they're in right now, where there is no clear role for vehicles, then I feel like that destroys the entire core of the Treadnought quote-unquote expansion. It's not actually an expansion, but the major patch that we're on. Treadnought is the main feature, right? And I feel like that pretty much negates the main feature. So surely they're not going to leave it as it is right now. If they further nerf vehicles by making them not instantly and freely repair, then vehicles have no role. Or at least are relegated to an extremely safe fire support role, but we're probably better off. In fact, we're not probably better off. We're definitely better off putting that tonnage into mechs at that point. Of course, that is a hypothetical. It is not... We're not at that state. That is not a thing that has happened currently. And I don't have any insight into what the devs are currently planning, what they're thinking. This is all just my opinion. I want to be very clear about that. So currently, that is what I'm thinking right now, is that assuming they go the way that I think they will, in that they seem to be more focused on thematics and getting things like your pilots die a lot. they seem to be more focused on that than solid game mechanics and combat doctrines. Which is okay. I mean, being focused on thematics is fine, right? But it is coming currently at the cost of gameplay systems. In fact, the core gameplay system for this current iteration of RogueTech. Which, you know, whatever. If that's what they want to do, it's their mod, but I don't have to agree with it. To be clear, I'm not saying that I want them to revert the change to vehicles. I do think that the correct direction for the mod is to make it so that vehicles can be permanently destroyed, is ultimately to make it so that vehicles take time to be repaired and money to be repaired as well. I think that vehicles should not be treated differently from mechs in that regard. However, they're going to have to find a niche for vehicles for them to be viable. What that niche is, I don't pretend to know. But that's my current opinion. And to that end, I believe that we should be ramping up on our mechs here, our mech tonnage. I think that we should upgrade these guillotines. I think that they're a little on the small and weak side currently. So let's see what we've got available. I know that we've got Atlas parts. Maybe we should go for Atlases? Maybe. We've got Demolisher parts. I don't want to go for a Demolisher. Actually, I would love to get a Rifleman 2 put together. We don't have the parts. That would be amazing if we did. We can, however, put together this custom Atlas type. That would not be a bad idea. Hardpoints on that. That is a lot of ballistic hardpoints. Okay. We don't have the parts for it either. I'm just wondering what our second mech should be. We could go with another Atlas. I mean, I'm honestly not a huge fan of the Atlas as a chassis, which is why I kind of haven't yet. We could go for Highlanders. Highlanders are much better. Like, they've got DFA quirks, right? And I don't really like DFA. I don't like leg self-damage. I would prefer not to do that, if at all possible. So we'll hold off on that. We could go for a Kodiak if we had one more part, which would be an interesting option. I'm wondering what the movement of... Like, what's a default Atlas's engine? Another mech that I would not, under any means, mind replacing would be our Jaeger. And our Archer, for that matter. All four of those mechs, I feel like, could use an upgrade. The Jaeger would probably be my preferred one to upgrade right now. And in order to do that, I would love to replace it with something like a Rifleman 2. That would be ideal. We need something that is relatively fast, at least for an assault mech, kind of like the Stone Rhino. And I'm wondering what the actual speed of this Atlas would be. We could ready this mech. That's fine, and we can do that completely for free. That is switching out medium pulse lasers for standard models. Okay, that's fine. Let's take a look at what this guy's got to start with, shall we? Oh, and just for the record, we may not deploy this episode. We're going to be working for a while here. Okay, so this has an Engine Core 300 to start with. It does have an XL engine. Okay. It's going to be spendy to put this together, but, I mean, we're not having any issues there. Let's go ahead and put in an Engine XL. Already 4.7 million. Yeah, that's not super shocking to me. Okay. What would we look like with an Engine Core 400 in here for speed? And that would give us an Engine HS plus up to 6. But I don't believe we have an Engine HS plus 6. Yeah, we just have the plus 2 that came with it. And that's fine. We can throw that in there. So that's already up to 5.1 million. I don't think we're going to do this right now. This does have a Gauss in here. We'll remove the case. We'll remove the 2 medium lasers. And this does, of course, set the Atlas at 35 tons available. Okay, that's fine. Now we can always throw Heavy Ferro in. That would be very good for an Atlas to throw in Heavy Ferro. And we'll obviously throw in an Endosteel structure. That uses a lot of slots. There's no doubt about that. We may want to hold off on this until we have a clan Endosteel structure. And if we max out this armor, what's that tonnage put us at? 40 tons available. The major issue there, of course, is slottage. Let's actually take off the Heavy Ferro. The Endosteel structure is more effective. And let's consider what we'd want to put in this Atlas. We've got 2 ballistic hardpoints and, what is that, 4 laser hardpoints and a missile hardpoint. Okay. Hilarious dream ideas would be something like dual long toms. It ain't happening. But that would be hilarious. Mech needs an additional free slot. Yeah, we can't even put in a single long tom. Fair enough. Although it would still be hilarious. Realistically, we'd want this to be more like in that Rifleman. I don't really want to go too much into Gauss rifles here. Actually, I don't really know what doctrine this would be. The question is 4 and 6 hexes. It's a little on the slow side. So we're just going to back out of that for now, actually. And we'll consider what we want this Kraken to be. Maybe we refit the Imp. I've not been shockingly impressed with the Imp. Let's see here. We have a 1/4 ton available. Maybe swap some of these guys out for pulse lasers and upgrade the engine core. Out of curiosity, if we were to upgrade this to an Engine Core 400, just how fast would that go? And just how heavy would that be? That's very heavy, and the movement speed goes to 4 and 6 as opposed to 3 and 4. So that is not, I think, worthwhile. Okay, good to know. So the Imp is pretty much always going to be a Juggernaut. That's fine. That's completely fine. Okay, let's go ahead and refit this Atlas, but I'm not going to do anything other than just get it repaired to this state. We have to do this anyway, and we'll get that started so that we can have that ticking forward if necessary. But that'll be a low priority, and we'll come back to this Atlas, I think. And we'll just deploy pretty much as is. We'll tick forward a couple days here, and we will go ahead and deploy. I want to give some thought to what we want to end up upgrading. And yeah, we will go ahead and go on to Extravagant at this point. Not even for the morale necessarily, although the morale will be nice, but for the 2 extra techs. Wonderful. We're not taking forward for the Kraken, obviously, but we are going to do a little bit of training here, and then we'll just deploy on something and see if we can get it done relatively quickly. I mean,
Yes, Commander.
the more I think about it, the more I just think, under this current system, there just isn't a clear role for vehicles that can't be better served by throwing tonnage at mechs. The only thing is that our Juggernaut Lance, or rather that our Cavalry Lance, is kind of transitioning into a Juggernaut Lance, with our Juggernaut Lance being more fire support. But to a certain degree, that's okay. Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. We can run this mission here. This is a nice battle, and 2 and 9 or 1 and 5. Okay, we'll just sit here. Seems good to me. So we'll deploy everything we've got here that we can, anyway. Of course, we can't deploy this Guillotine or the Centurion. We are 70 tons underweight, and this was expected. Again, I do want to replace this Jaeger. Hopefully we can get some Rifleman 2 parts. That would be amazing if we got that from this, or any sort of a long-range ballistic-focused, like 95-ton mech, 90 to 100-ton mech would be perfect. I would love to replace the Jaeger with a dual long-tom mech. That would just be magnificent if we did that. And the Archer and the Sorcerer kind of fill the same role in a weird sort of way, so we could do something with the Archer as well. But I'm reasonably happy with the Cavalry Lance. I would like to upgrade this Guillotine to something a little heavier. It's a little on the squishy side. But let's go ahead and deploy this as is. And we'll just see how difficult this ends up being. The more I think about it, the more I come to the conclusion that I don't see a way for vehicles to have a solid niche right now. You could use them for the armor, for the instant armor repair. That is definitely a thing that you can do. But I also feel like that's a really gamey and cheesy thing that the modders are very likely to remove. And with good reason. I'm not opposed to them removing that. But if they did that, then that removes yet another niche, right? So the question is, what advantages, at that point, do vehicles have over mechs? And the answer is almost none. The only advantage is through flying units, which, I mean, you can get land-air mechs. That's a thing you can do. The other advantage is simply the fact that they don't generate heat. But heat management is a thing that you should have to deal with. Yeah, this does feel like a trap. I don't disagree with Darius. We have apparently allies over here. I do not like this position. They can shell us from here. They've got this over here. I mean, they don't really have that great of a position. They've got this up here and this over here. I guess we can deploy where the game wants us to, and we'll see about scattering from there. Okay, what do we got for allies? Well, we've got this mobile long tom that spawned inside of our imp. We've got a thumper, a shiltron, and a thumper. Okay, so that's all pretty good, actually. They've got a lot of artillery. This is kind of what we'd like to do with our vehicle lance, what we've got here, except that we just don't have the tonnage to devote to it. We're going to go ahead and reserve and let this guy move first. What is this guy, a longbow? Something like that. A little bit of splash damage in there. That's fine.
Send me a real opponent. Systems holding.
Okay.
Do they think they can
We'll allow them to move again. I believe this is a
trying
longbow.
to attract my attention or something?
Right? Yeah, that's a longbow. Okay. Let's see what he's got. Artillery? No. Just direct fire. Okay.
Not much armor left in that location.
6 damage.
Reporting. Serious armor loss.
Or was that 8 damage? Was that MRMs? Deadfires? I'm unsure. They're really targeting that mobile long tom. Fair enough. Okay. Our ally reserved. I'm fine with this. Our stone rhino is going to sprint forward to, I think right here is good. We'll position it here in front where it can use its ludicrous amount of armor. That's a Black Knight up there. He's going to have some heat issues. And we've got an Apollo and a longbow. We're going to go for the Apollo for hit chance reasons. Light him up. He has weak armor.
Fire in.
Okay. He also has AMS, but it's not very good. We're going to come forward with our Victor, and I am going to sprint forward here. Just get in a little bit closer. For hit-odd purposes, I guess we go for the Apollo. Do we fire the Ultra AC-20 here, though? I think we don't. Okay.
What do you need?
The guillotine will close in, but I'm not going to sprint it here. I'd like to keep it a little behind our heavier, better armored mechs. And we'll continue to armor strip that Apollo. Okay, for a second there I thought we were going to miss everything, but we did not. The Sorcerer can absolutely step over here where it has clear LOS. And do we want to armor shred that longbow? I kind of feel like we do, actually. Yeah. I think we give this a go.
Confirmed.
The AMS tried, but it failed. And that was a pretty good armor shred, actually. We'll take it.
I'm ready.
The Archer is going to step forward over here.
Move order received.
I doubt if we'd be better off with Deadfire. No. We'll just armor shred this Apollo. I think we may have backstabbed our friend with the PPC there.
Reporting critical hit.
No, we didn't, actually. Good. That's very good. The Yellow Jacket is just going to back off here. And we're going to attempt to armor shred the longbow a bit. Again, I don't care if the Yellow Jacket gets shot down and destroyed. I'm really thinking about moving away from vehicles, unless they make some serious changes. And just devoting that tonnage to mechs. Maybe once we have good mech doctrine sorted out, maybe at that point, and yeah, that's one of the reasons why I want to change up the Archer. Maybe once we have all of our mechs sorted, we can look at spare tonnage and throwing that at vehicles, but I just don't necessarily want to reserve the tonnage. We will position the Jaeger up here, and its mission will be to fire on that Apollo. I'm going to go ahead and Warlord due to hit chance. Excellent. Light him up. A good hit there. Do they have anything other than these four mechs? They don't currently appear to.
Waiting on you,
Our
Commander.
Imp is going to step forward to here, and it is going to continue attacking the Apollo. And actually, we're going to Warlord due to these hit odds. And otherwise, we're going to accept this overheat. Hello, Imp Shoulder. Okay. Our ally is going to reserve. Sure.
Standing by.
Our Nidhogg is going to step forward over this direction, and we're going to move over here to start engaging these guys over here. I'm just checking hit odds here. I'm going to go ahead and Warlord, and we're going to armor shred this Archer's front arc. This is not going to be our final target for the Nidhogg. We're going to go for the Black Knight, but this is going to be somewhat useful in the near future. Our Marauder will go ahead and sprint forward to... This is a terrible location. This location is actually slightly better. We'll sprint forward to here with our Marauder, and we will Warlord and fire on that Apollo. It's a little out of range, but we'll accept that. Prototype double heat sinks, huh? Ooh.
Inflicted some heavy damage.
That guy is not happy with that. That was a lot of crits. That was a whole bunch of crits.
I'm here.
Okay, we're going to move this guillotine forward, and we are going to actually ignore this Apollo. Our allies actually didn't fire. I've been noticing that ever since they made the change to vehicles, AI vehicles seem to be much more pacifistic. And actually, maybe they made that change because of the heat generation change, where AI pilots are less likely to overheat. Maybe that's where that came from. We're going to go for the longbow here with the guillotine, but they should definitely revert it in the case of vehicles. Vehicles are being way more passive than they should be because they don't actually have heat. But there may be some technological limitations there. Okay, they're going for the mobile long tom. That's fine. But there's no doubt in my mind that vehicles are currently having some distinct issues with their heat generation. And, well, more specifically, with just their passivity. And I think it's because they're trying to prevent overheats. I would like to fire on the longbow here. And that's exactly what we'll do. Good armor reduction. I like it. Okay. Just in general, I feel like this current patch is not necessarily a great one. That's 1.1.3. I believe, is the current patch. But
Ready for orders.
the vehicle changes have definitely been, in my opinion, problematic. We're going to go ahead and fire on the Black Knight over here because we may splash damage this archer. And do we accept this overheat? No, we don't. We're not going to fire our ER mediums. That was very solid. I like it.
Ready for orders.
Our Dragon Slayer is going to step up here and finish off the Apollo since our vehicle friends are being super passive. I'm not going to fire the Ultra AC-20 because that's overkill. Wonderful.
Tango down. Yes.
Okay, the Yellow Jacket is mostly just going to stay put and toss a Gauss rifle shot at that longbow. We actually missed. I didn't expect it, but it happens.
Joy.
The longbow is something that I would not mind upgrading the archer to. Thumper shot on the longbow. Okay, that'll be some armor shred.
Good to go.
The Nidhogg is going to come in over here to this side arc, and we're going to go ahead and drop bombs on the Black Knight. We're hoping that it splash damages the archer, but it might be a little out of range.
Affirmative.
And indeed it is, but that's fine. That'll knock down that Black Knight. And hopefully our vehicle friends will actually attack here. The Thumper moves up, attacks the longbow. That's fine. Go for that. We don't mind that in the slightest. Our Stone Rhino is going to walk forward here. And looking at hit odds, our hit odds are far better on this Black Knight. I guess we'll go for the Black Knight. That's fine. I don't care where we hit, honestly. Just do some crit fishing. That's some crit fishing, all right.
Critical hit, Commander.
Okay, phase 19, that is the longbow. The longbow steps up. Fires on the mobile long tom. That's fine. It destroys it. We don't mind. That gives us a chance at salvaging the long toms anyway. And we're going to step forward with our archer. Our archer has taken a fair amount of damage, so we're going to vigilance it. We're also going to warlord. And we're going to fire on the longbow. The question is, do we go for the reduced hit chance, but increased damage from deadfire ammo? And I think we do here, actually.
Targeted for now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was worthwhile.
Scored a critical hit.
That was very solid. Okay, they're shooting indirect at that archer and failing. They should have fired at the longbow and crit fished. That's obviously the choice they should have made.
Let's do this.
The Marauder is going to step forward here. This is side arc on this longbow, which isn't the best, but we'll go ahead and fire on it. And I think we'll avoid firing the ER medium lasers, but we will fire the pulse lasers on the off chance that we manage to take out this torso. And besides, we're just crit fishing. But hang on a moment. Off chance? No, we're firing an MRM-40. This thing's dead. Because it has an XL engine. There we go.
One less target.
Fantastic. So, of course, now we need to advance over this direction and fire on the Black Knight with everything we've got on the Imp, except for these ER medium lasers. And this is one of the reasons why I want to rework the Imp.
Got it.
try to figure out what else we can do with it. Turn it into maybe more of a fire support mech.
Orders?
The archer is going to step forward over here as well, and we're going to vigilance again, just in case. We will go ahead and light up that Black Knight, and the Black Knight should die to this.
Roger that.
It doesn't seem like they have anything else. So all they've got now is that archer. And this is not going to go well for him. We're going to sprint forward with our guillotine. We can't get in LOS, but that's okay. We will sink heat.
What's up, boss?
Our Nidhogg will come in behind their archer and make him super sad.
Locked on. Rear armor.
Indeed. Very sad indeed.
That hit something good.
Indeed. And, yeah, rear arc attacks. One more good rear arc attack will finish him. We're going to move the yellow jacket over here. But not like we can get in LOS.
Yeah.
The Jaeger is in pretty much the same boat. It can't get into LOS. So yeah, what I'm leaning towards right now is not having vehicles at all. Or maybe just a couple of vehicles, but not all 4 of them. And instead,
Receiving you.
putting additional weight into our 2 lances. And our 2 lances would be something along the lines of a Juggernaut lance and a fire support lance.
I'm receiving you.
That is the current thinking.
Confirmed.
I know I've changed my mind on this quite a number of times, but it's because I'm trying to work vehicles into this, and I don't see a good way to do it. I really, really don't. I'd love to move our sorcerer. That's what I'm waiting for right now, is moving our sorcerer. The archer steps forward, fires on the Dragon Slayer. Okay. Does a bit of armor strip. That'll take a little time to repair, but no big deal. Okay.
Yes, Commander.
Our archer can step up to here
Rolling.
and light this guy up with dead fires again. And I don't think he dies to the dead fires, but they will soften him up pretty dramatically. Yeah, we would have had to get like a through armor crit there for that to work. But regardless, he will die this round before he gets to move, in fact. Excellent. And we will, of course, move the Nidhogg into his rear arc. This is probably the kill shot here. And finish him off. I'm not going to even bother warlording. There we go. Well, let's see what we get from salvage. Unfortunately, not really anything as a replacement for the Jaeger, but we do see a pretty decent replacement for the archer in that longbow. The question, of course, is, do we want to have a missile boat? And I think the answer is yes. There is an objective reason to have an LRM boat and an Aero 4 boat, and that reason is baiting out AMS. So I think that is a pretty good thing to have. They complement each other nicely. We replace the archer with a longbow, and that will do a pretty good job. That is, of course, 15 tons heavier, and we can grab 3 parts here, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we get the 4th. We did not, but maybe we have enough to be able to put one together from other variants. We have run into several other longbows. Prototype double heat sinks I'm actually going to get rid of. We'll keep the regular double heat sinks. Missile range FCS, now that's something we'll keep. Absolutely. We didn't take much for damage there, and that's okay. Maybe what we could have is upgrade our mechs and then have our vehicles be like a couple of heavy bombers like the Nidhogg and a Warthog or something along those lines. Just lower the overall weight of the vehicles, have them be air assets that can provide large amounts of backstab damage without being at tremendous risk. And then have a Fire Lance and a Juggernaut Lance. That might be what we want to go with. However, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we will continue working on our new plans. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.